Joining us now, the National Coach of the Year from the high school ranks in softball from Central Cass is Scott Kost here. And again, that's with the National High School Athletic Coaches Association here being nominated in Bismarck earlier in the week. And for you, Scott, I know you probably have a lot of people have reached out to you in a number of different ways and probably have the same question to begin with. What does it mean to be nominated from the state of North Dakota, but then to eventually win the award as the National Coach of the Year when it comes to high school softball?
Yeah. Thanks, Chase. It's incredibly humbling. It's an honor. I mean, it's an honor just to get nominated and know that, the Coaches Association is looking and saying, hey, we'd like to nominate you as a coach. And then to actually get the award, it's incredibly, it's a little bit surreal. And it's very, very humbling. It's really quite an honor.
When we get to these all-star games in North Dakota in the summer months, I always like to ask coaches, what has the sport meant to you? How have you gained from the sport? What have you learned from the sport? So same thing here with this type of award. What is just the game of softball, Scott? I know there's family ties. We know what's, Cosfield there in Castleton as well. So there's a lot of different angles I'm sure you could go with this one, but what has softball meant to you?
It's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my family's life. I every day that I get to walk out on the field and be with those kids, I love it. I truly enjoy every minute of it. And as soon as it isn't, I don't get that enjoyment out of it, it's going to be time for me to hang it up. But I've made tremendous friends. I've been able to work with my kids. I've been able to coach my kids. I get to hang out with some amazing young human beings that have a tremendous amount of energy and passion and frankly, I think it keeps me young. My wife is very supportive of this. She's one of our biggest fans. She goes to our games. She's gotten to get to know the kids. It's really, really meant a lot to us.
And the full circle moment too. I know in the All-Star game, you've had a number of players that have been able to play in it. Just this recent one, you're able to host it in Castleton. Grace Fletchock comes up and you guys are having a practice and all of a sudden the practice kind of comes to the first base dugout to cheer her on. So is that a full circle moment, Scott, when you're able to see players move on to the next level or move on to college or move on to the next phase of life and able to see that next generation watching someone like Grace or other players who played in that particular All-Star game where you're practicing, but then you're able to come over there and cheer her on, her last time donning the Squirrels uniforms. How surreal and how of a full circle moment is that for you as a coach?
It really is, Chase. I didn't set that up. The kids said, hey, it looks like Grace is going to be up. And so the kids wanted to go over there and support her. And I think it's a bit of it is a testament to those kids and the quality of those kids that, we often talk about that we don't have seniority in our program. So, we treat seniors the same as we treat our seventh graders. And the fact that they're friends, they like each other, they care about each other. That is incredibly rewarding to me. I mean, it tells me that, these kids are going to go on in life and they're going to do some amazing things. They may be done some amazing things on the softball field, but they're going to do even better things in life because they're just such great kids.
And the follow-up question to that is whether someone comes with the program for 1 year, Scott, maybe they're not sure if they like softball or how they want to try it out early on, or they're there for the 4 years of high school, plus years of middle school, junior high. What do you hope that players kind of take from the program, whether it is between the lines of softball, whether it's fair or foul, or once you kind of, get to other phases of your life, once you graduate and move on to the next phase or next chapter? What do you hope that players get out of your program overall, Scott?
We talk about that every year we talk about it, and we talk about it at the beginning of the year with our parents that, we really have 3 goals in our program. We're going to compete for championships. We're going to learn life lessons, and we're going to have fun while we're doing it. So those are our 3 goals. And we really do try to abide by that. I do think we live in a very competitive world, in the working world, and I think it's important to learn how to compete and to learn how the value of putting hard work in. I think there's other lessons that we should be. I view myself as an educator as much as I do a coach, and my job is to make sure that we're teaching life lessons as part of our program, and then we ought to have fun doing it. And I've had a couple of kids that have left our program, graduated from high school, left our program, and they've said, and they could have gone on and played in college, but they didn't want to, because they said, I want I want these to be my last memories of playing softball. I want it to be, I had such a great time that's the way I want my softball playing career to end. And that is, that I would like them to go play in college, but the fact that they feel that good about the experience they got there is, I feel like that tells me that, my assistant coaches and the school, we're doing a lot of the right things there. So that's what I hope they get out of this, Chase.
And let's talk about the school and the community, Scott, because obviously Kost Field has been used a ton, right? And the first year or two, Valley City State, Mayville State are using it because the snow is so bad and they just want to get games in and not have to travel to Omaha or the Twin Cities and bring teams up to utilize it. Obviously, from the high school ranks, it's been used. You have lights on there. Just what is the community and the support been like? Obviously, with softball, and I know you ventured in different avenues with Castleton, with the Central Cass School District as well, but just take us through everything that you've been a part of those diamonds to see where it is today. Is it at all a pinch you moment? Is it, I can't believe we've had this facility with a big grandstand and a nice press box for media jackals like myself? I mean, how is this all kind of came, Scott, for you in the last, umpteen years, just being part of softball in the Castleton community?
It's the best way I can describe it is it's a privilege, really. This recognition, this national recognition that we've got, I really view that as that's really recognition for Central Cass. Our administration, our my assistant coaches who are amazing, the kids that are in the program, the parent support. I mean, the whole community. I've heard from people in our community that really don't even have any connection to our softball program directly, but they're reaching out saying, "Hey, great job." And it is a pinch me moment. When every time I walk onto that field, it's like, man, am I lucky? I'm lucky to get to be here. I'm lucky to be able to work with these kids. I'm lucky to be a part of this thing. And it's that the whole thing is a kind of a pinch me deal.
This is always a conversation I know we've had sometimes before seasons, and it's the what's next, right? Because no matter how the season goes, there's always the next season. There's always the next group of junior high players that are going to become high school players and get their moment at the varsity level. So when you win an award like this, Scott, I'm not saying that there isn't another award to win or another state title to go after, but what is next when it comes to a coaching profession like yourself?
One of the things I really do want to do is I want to help younger coaches. I think sometimes the coaching biz can be difficult, and I really do want to help them. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like right now, but I'm getting closer to retirement in my professional career, and so that's one of the things I think about. I still have a passion for we lost in the state championship game, as this year, and after we got through all the tears and the hugs that were a part of, that feeling of disappointment, the very next week, Monday, the kids were back to work. Well, you saw them at the All-Star game. And so they're back to work and they're getting ready and they want to go compete. And there's still a fire in me I want to be with them as a part of that. I still have that fire. So I'm not quite ready to, I think I still have work to do in my direct coaching career. And that's probably what I'm most focused on right now.
If you could talk to a parent or talk to someone who's maybe in the fifth grade, right? And they've always been kind of toying with, maybe they've done the T-ball stuff, they've done the, so to speak, the Babe Ruth, Cal Ripken, or they haven't, and they've kind of wanted to see, is this something they want to get into? And they got some friends who do it, some friends who don't. Why should someone come out for softball at any age or give it a shot, Scott? Just in terms of what you've been able to do with the Squirrel program, but also you've alluded to family, that next generation of coaches that are coming up, the next generation of players. Why should someone give softball a try?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chase. So first of all, my very biased opinion is I think it's an amazing sport. I think the quality of the game and how things work. I think it's an amazing game. But that being said, you don't have to be the greatest athlete. You don't have to be the tallest kid. Height wins in basketball. Height wins in volleyball. It's different in softball. I mean, if you're willing to put the work in, if you're willing to, learn the fundamentals and learn the game, there's a great opportunity to contribute to a varsity sport. So that's part of where I'd start. I do think the life lessons that sport allows us to teach kids. If you bat 400, that means you you were successful 4 times, but you failed 6 times. And just being able to deal with that and learning how to do that, because that's kind of the way life is going to be as well. I think that there are just huge opportunities to learn things that are going to help you be successful in life. And then finally, I'd say I think the relationship building. You spend a lot of time on a bus. You spend a lot of time in the dugout. You spend a lot of time at practices. I see parents getting together and establishing friendships as part of the program. And I just think that the ability to go out and build relationships with people that could last a lifetime. I think those are some of the I would like to be able to sell this program all day long, because I feel like there are tremendous benefits over and above playing time. There are tremendous benefits that can be gained from participating in softball.
Final thing for me, Scott, how has the softball game changed when you first got into it to where we are today? Sometimes there's slap hitters, power alley gets talked about, obviously hit and run and stealing bases and doing stuff of that nature, taking the extra 60 feet, that delayed steal, or there's a number of different ways we can go. But when you first got into softball to where we are now, how has the game just changed even at the high school ranks of what we're seeing consistently here in North Dakota?
Last weekend we played in Minnesota. So we played in a tournament in Minnesota, and we were very competitive. And I would say 10, 12 years ago, we wouldn't have been very competitive in a tournament like that. I think what's happened in North Dakota is because of people like you, Chase, that are covering the sport. So there's coverage, there's exposure. People are getting to know the sport better. ESPN is now covering the World Series. That didn't happen 10 years ago. The sport has gotten a lot more coverage and a lot more exposure, which is getting more kids out. And I think it's also elevating the game. And so I think the quality of contests now compared to the way it was 10 years ago, there were a lot more blowouts. There were a lot more, 20-1 games or 23-21 games that seemed to last forever. We're not seeing as much of that anymore. And the reason is because the quality of play has improved. The pitching's gotten better. The hitting's gotten better. The catching's gotten better. And so I'm very bullish on the future of the sport. I think it's going to continue to improve. I hope it continues to grow in North Dakota. But I think it's changed a lot, and it's fun to see the change. But I think we're just starting to get to turn a corner on where it's even going to get better.
Scott, as always, I appreciate you making the time. Congratulations on being the National Coach of the Year in softball, and look forward to seeing you at a softball diamond sooner rather than later.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason. Thanks so much for the coverage and your work with the sport too. It's much, much appreciated.
And right now we're glad to be joined by head coach Greg Hoeckle for the Carrington Cardinals. And Coach Hoeckle is just finishing up his 34th year at coaching for Carrington for the girls track and field team, and a longtime teacher here in Carrington, and also some other coaching duties. We'll talk a little bit about that here on our interview with Greg. But first, Greg just got back from Bismarck, capital city in North Dakota, and he was awarded the National Coach of the Year for girls track and field. And this was the National High School Athletic Coaches Association banquet. So congrats on that, Greg. And of course, thanks for joining us here on your live event. So what does this mean to you to get this award? I think you said there were 8 other finalists across the nation, right? And you won this?
Right. Yeah. So each finalist, of course, gets an award, but then even the panelists themselves that vote on the winner don't know who the winner is until it's announced at the banquet. And it's quite an honor to be amongst some of the greats that have ever coached the sport, and it's a true testament to our assistant coaches, our community, and especially the athletes. They're the ones that actually deserve the award the most, because they're the ones that put the time in, and and their hard work and dedication has made our track and field program a success.
So let's talk about your program there. What do you give us some things that you can highlight that makes the track and field in Carrington so successful over the years?
There's a lot of different things. Overall, I think with both the girls and boys, I think we're around 90 records that have been broken here at the school in 34 years. It's one of the things that I'm very proud of anytime, especially in the last few years, anytime we go to meets around the state, we have ex-athletes that are now assistant coaches for programs throughout the state. And that's always, exciting to see and see how they're doing and how they've taken what they learned from here and then now are doing the teaching and coaching in other communities throughout the state.
Tell us about the banquet in Bismarck. I think you said there was over 150 other coaches there or up for award. So tell us about that. And I think it was all this week, right? In Bismarck?
Yes, everything was this week at Bismarck, and yeah, I think it was around 152 bios they went through for all the individual sports, and 8 finalists are picked throughout the list that comes from the states. The states put up their own list of coaches for each sport, and then they pick 8 finalists from there. And then at the awards banquet on Wednesday night, they then go through the 8 finalist bio and then announce at the end, they announce the winner.
Okay, awesome. And well, talk about some other coaching duties while you've been here in Carrington, your 34 years.
Yes, throughout those years, also 30 years, I believe, of being the assistant football coach. Also, Miss Michelson, our athletic director, and I started the archery program here at the school. And we just got done with I believe, our 5th or 6th season of that. And back in the 90s, I used to coach basketball also at junior high boys basketball back in the 90s, and I did 10 years of that. So it's been quite a lot of sports
Yeah.
in those 34 years.
All right, good deal. Now you're just retired this year from Carrington, from teaching and coaching from Carrington High School and everything. And so what do you got planned? What do you got planned this summer and future plans after the summer?
Well, it's been busy this month, of course, getting through the banquets, and now I'm just going to try and relax a little bit and do a lot of family activities and hopefully I applied for a bus driving position at Carrington Public Schools, and hopefully I get that, so I have something to do and not have to work too much. I don't want to have a full-time position. I just
Yeah.
morning and afternoon would be just great.
Right. Yeah. Any fishing, anything like that going?
Well, I used to fish quite a bit, but it's hopefully I'll get back into fishing and golfing and then be a cheerleader for the Carrington sports programs.
All right, that's awesome. And who do you want to thank over the years? I mean, like he's kind of alluded to it already. I mean, all your coaches, assistant coaches, the programs, the athletes. I mean, coached numerous athletes over the years. Who do you all want to say thank you?
It's just so many people that would want to thank. I'd like to thank our athletic directors over the years. It started out with Mr. Larson, Al Larson, and then Greg Johnson, who is a very good friend of mine, and then of course now Carla Michelson. So I've had 3 great athletic directors, and they have pushed Carrington sports into being one of the best programs in the state, and I know that will continue to happen. I'd like to thank the parents of all the athletes that have gone through the program, because it takes in any sport, especially in track and field, it's a family, and it takes everyone. It takes the coaches, the athletes, the parents, all working together and to make everything a success. And the Carrington community is one that is going to keep pushing forward, and hopefully the program continues to be successful.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Greg. We appreciate you taking time and chatting with us here. And congratulations on an awesome award and getting the National Coach of the Year for girls track and field. And we wish you well this summer and in the future.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, you bet.